All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little San Francisco Giant video, a little report card on the Giants after 16 games and some thoughts on their season. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Giants. But first, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, two locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. We're also brought to you by Marin Auto Glass. Check them out on the web at marinautoglass.com. And we're brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. Give Anthony Catania a call at 831-521-5264. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Giants. The Giants out of the chute are 6 wins, 10 losses. They're 4 games behind the Dodgers as we sit here on the 15th of April of 2024, 16 games in. And, you know, they're 3-3 at home. They're 3-7 on the road. They've been outscored by 12 runs on the year. They're 4-6 in their last 10 games. They just lost 2 out of 3 to Tampa, and now they're on their way to Miami, where they'll play 3 against the Marlins. Let's talk a little bit about the Giants just overall, and then we will get into a couple thoughts that I have on how to solve their issues. Now, a couple bright spots. Michael Conforto looks great. You know, Conforto's leading them with 34 total bases. He's hitting 298 with a 355 on base. He looks good. Conforto has been absolutely fantastic. The other guy that looks absolutely fantastic is Jordan Hicks. The starting pitcher has looked great, absolutely great. I mean, nothing but good things to say about Jordan Hicks, and he really looks like a great addition to the Giants for sure. So those guys really have stood out and looked really, really good. As far as Jung Hoo Lee is hitting 242 with a 290 on base, but he still looks really good in the outfield. He's had some really good at-bats. He's hit the ball really hard. I really like what I see from Jung Hoo Lee. I just don't think that he was worth $19 million. And I think, I asked Marty at the end of spring training, I said, what's he going to hit? Marty said 255. You can't hit 255 if you're making $19 million. I mean, not when you're a leadoff guy without a lot of power and without a ton of speed. You gotta hit more like 280, and so 255 is not going to be good. And so seeing him hit 242 with a 290 on base is not great, but there's a lot to like about Jung Hoo Lee. And I'll say this, he's a far better baseball player than I gave him credit for when they signed him. But at the same time, I don't think he's worth the 19 million. So I'm a little caught in between. Now, part of the problem is that I don't think he's surrounded by enough talent in the outfield, and we'll get to that in a minute. But overall, I would say even though the Giants are not off to a great start, and Jung Hoo Lee's hitting sub 250, and there's I still think the Giants have what could be a very exciting team that could maybe win 90 games this year. If they make the right moves. Now, I mean, look at their rotation right now. Logan Webb, Blake Snell. Snell has yet to really get it going. He looked really bad on Sunday, and he's just got to be more aggressive. And you kind of wonder about his baseball card, where he's had 2 Cy Young seasons and then a bunch of years where it's like, what? You're nowhere close to Cy Young. So I don't know what to make of him, but hopefully he'll get it going and have a good year. But that rotation of Logan Webb, Blake Snell, if they get Robbie Ray, who's a former Cy Young Award winner in his own right, they get him back midseason. Alex Cobb, I like what I've seen from Kyle Harrison. That's a good 5-man rotation right there. And not only is it a good 5-man rotation, it kicks Keaton Wynn, who I think looks pretty nasty, and Jordan Hicks, who looks phenomenal, to the pen. If the Giants can somehow get back Alex Cobb and Robbie Ray, and those guys can step into the rotation, and they could move Jordan Hicks and Keaton Wynn into the bullpen. Now you got Camilo Duvall, Jordan Hicks, Keaton Wynn, the Rogers brothers, Ryan Walker. Kai Wei Tang has been a very good long man. He saved them innings a couple times. Eric Miller looks overpowering as a lefty. You got Landon Roop with that killer curveball in the mid-90s fastball. They got a bunch of different looks in the pen. I like the way that looks. I like that bullpen, and I like that rotation. So that's intriguing. If the Giants can get back those 2 pitchers in the middle of the year and move those 2 young arms to the bullpen, they could have the best pen in the game. They could have a totally dominant pen where if they lead in the seventh, it's a win. So that I feel really good about. Okay. And then you look at that lineup and you say, okay, well, what does this team really need? They don't score runs consistently. To me, they're a bat or two away. Now, immediately what you can do about it is trade out Yaz and Slater for Matos and Ramos, which is what I would do right now. I would absolutely promote Matos and Ramos. I mean, Matos I think is up, but Ramos, who's ripping it in the minor leagues. People say, well, he's been given so many chances. He hasn't been given shit for chances. He's never been given a chance, ever. Give him an extended 3, 4, 5 weeks and then tell me the kid sucks. Don't tell me he sucks and send him to the minor leagues and then have him dominate in the minor leagues. Marty once compared this kid to Willie Mays, and I understand what Marty's saying because he looks like Mays, as far as his stature and his bat speed. The kid's, and he's a tremendous kid. I mean, Elliot Ramos is a really, really good guy. So that's what I would do right away. Is I would say Yaz is done and has been done. Slater's just a guy. You don't need, now that you got Lee, you don't need Slater. Slater covered you in center field when you didn't have Lee. Now you got Lee. I like Soler as the DH. You got Casey Schmidt and Marco Luciano in the minor leagues. Wade Meckler's in the minor leagues. All those guys are major league players in my mind. So I like what I've seen out of Tyler Fitzgerald. Murphy looks like an offensive player. To me, the Giants are literally 2 bats away from being a 90-win type team. Now, they're 2 damn good bats. There was an article in Bleacher Report this week about how Luis Arias is going to be available. That's one of the best hitters in the game. He's a batting champion. For whatever reason he's available, I would absolutely go sign Luis Arias or trade for Luis Arias. Excuse me, you can't sign him. And if I got to move Marco Luciano to get it done, I would do it. And I realize Luciano has a big offensive future. So what? This kid's a batting champion, and you could win right now with him. You plug him in at second, you move Tyro over to short. You share, you either DFA Ahmed or you somehow use him off the bench. To me, that's the route I would go. If I'm the Giants, I absolutely would try to get a Luis Arias. If I can get Arias, I'm feeling really good about the potential for what he can do in that lineup. You hit him 2, you got Jung Hoo Lee 1 and you got Arias 2. Now you're setting the table. The other guy who's supposedly going to get dealt this summer is the polar bear, Pete Alonso. Go get Pete Alonso. If I got to move Eldridge or Reggie Crawford or both or some combination of Rainer Arias, I'm doing it. The history of Giants prospects are not good. You have more than enough money to sign Alonso long term. People would be walking around wearing polar bear this, polar bear that. Pete Alonso would have the same impact as an Aaron Judge. He would give them that monster power guy, Alonso, and you've got Soler. I mean, imagine this lineup if you could add Pete Alonso and Luis Arias. You have the pitching. You have the starting pitching, you have the bullpen pitching, and you have prospects to get these guys. And you know what? I'm no longer in this mode of hoard the prospects. Giants prospects have failed at a really high rate for a long, long time. Is Bryce Eldridge exciting? Yeah, but he's an A-ball. I mean, I'd much rather trade Bryce Eldridge and get Pete Alonso and sign Pete Alonso long term than just sit there and cross my fingers that 3 years from now, Bryce Eldridge is going to be awesome. Because we've been waiting 3 years on guys in the Cal League for a long, long time. So that's my thought on the Giants after 16 games. One, I would absolutely, and if it's not Ramos, and then promote Meckler, but say goodbye to Yaz, say goodbye to Slater, go with Meckler, go with Ramos, go with Matos, go with your young outfielders if you have to. See if Bishop is close to ready, or trade for a young outfielder. But to me, they're 2 bats away. You add Arias to that infield and let him rake. and Polar Bear at first base and let him hit bombs. And I think the Giants are, suddenly an exciting team that will make it to the playoffs. And if they get to the Giants' goal's got to be get to the playoffs. Why? Because you can go in a 3-game series, best of 5 or something. You can go Webb, Snell, and Ray. Boom, boom, boom. And that might be overpowering at that point. You got good starting pitching. You can turn the game into a 7-inning game with Wynn, Hicks, and Doval at the end. I don't, even though, the Giants appeared to be so far away. Then they signed Chapman, gave him a legit third baseman. Then they signed Snell, gave them another rotation piece and greater depth. They've spent the money. They don't look great because they don't score runs. But if they had one more contact hitter and one more power hitter, and maybe you fill for a few weeks with your young guys out of the minor leagues, but man, you get the San Francisco Giants, Luis Arias and Pete Alonso, and I think they're going to the playoffs, and I think they might have success when they get there. So it's kind of a weird 16-game feel for the Giants. In a way, I feel like, you know what? Lee's is not worth $19 million, and they don't have any real offense with any consistency, and Snell's looked awful. And, there's still some bats that are really, really cold. I mean, Chapman's hitting 200. Tyro had a good weekend this weekend. He's hitting 226. Soler's hitting 228. They got some guys who are really struggling. But Yaz at 138 has got to go. He's got to go. Slater at 083. These guys, you got better options than those guys. So I'd like to see a little bit more Tyler Fitzgerald, in the short term. He's got speed. He makes things happen. So it's an interesting start for the Giants. It's like, on one hand, they look thoroughly outgunned, and they don't look like they have enough. They look like they get a pop gun offensive attack that is not going to be able to score 5 runs with any consistency and win games. But man, one hitter, 2 hitters could make it all the difference in the world. Luis Arias and Pete Alonso, and the Giants could win 90, and the Giants could go to the playoffs. And unbelievable that I'm saying this on the 15th of April. The Giants could win the World Series if they got these 2 bats, and I think they're gettable. I think they've got the prospects to actually make these trades and add these 2 players. So Farhan, if you're listening, you got taken. You got absolutely taken by Boris for Jung Hoo Lee. He's not worth 6 years at $19 million. But that being said, I like Jung Hoo Lee. I like the way he plays center field. He plays it with confidence. I don't think he's got a great arm, but so what? I like the way he gives you a professional at bat. He'll walk, he'll drive, he'll hit the ball hard, but they need a couple more bats. And if they got an Arias, if they got an Alonso, to me, and they get Cobb and Ray back mid-year and throw Wynn and Hicks in the pen, man, Giants suddenly look really, really scary. So Farhan, if you're watching, get it done. Get me Luis Arias. Get me Arias, I should say. Get me Pete Alonso. And go win your 90 and draw close to 3 million and excite the fan base. And you know what? I'd much rather have those guys and excite the fan base this year than wait around for the next 5 years for Eldridge or wait around for the next 3 years for Luciano. Those guys may be awesome, but they may be nothing. And right now it's speculative, and I think you could get quite a bit for both of them in trade. And if you got to move to Casey Schmidt, I mean, I love Casey Schmidt, but I would do it. He's another guy. Gold Glove third baseman sitting there at AAA, starting to really swing it. He's got value. So the Giants have value in their farm system, enough value to pick off the Polar Bear and Arias. And they ought to do it. They ought to do it because to me, those 2 moves put them in a totally different class and possibly on a path to success in the postseason. And what does Farhan Zaidi need more now than ever? He needs the Giants to make the postseason and have success in the 2024 postseason. And I think those 2 moves get it done. Leave your comments in the comments below. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of The Krug Show. And thanks to all you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.